This is Greg Trotwine with Maritime Reporter TV, and we're here in Oslo at the North Shipping 2025. We're very pleased to be joined by Asa and Mia from Deltamarin, and we're here to talk about modern marine design, not in the theoretical, but in the reality.
So I'm Mia Eli, and I'm working as the R&D manager at Deltamarin, and I've been in-house 18 years, I think, focusing on new systems, energy saving, and that kind of thing. So.
And I'm Esa. I started in Deltamarin in 2003, so that's a bit over 20 years ago. Although I was away working for other companies for a period of 7 years. In total, I've been with the company for 15 years. Currently in the role of sales and marketing director.
So, just to start us off, could one or both of you just discuss Deltamarin and the round? I guess give a by the numbers look at the company using the metrics of your choice.
Okay, so we are a company that's fully focusing on marine design and engineering. We are 400 people in the group, headquartered in Finland. In Finland, we have 3 offices. Outside of Finland, in Poland, Croatia, and China. We do all design disciplines that is needed for designing and building a vessel, and we have all the design stages from concept design to detail and production design. So basically a one-stop shop for designing any ship or floating structure.
From your experience, I guess, where is that, reality on the street between concept and reality of what's actually being built?
That's a good point, and when we discuss about concept design, we actually mean all the design activities that happen before the shipbuilding contract is made. And there is also within the concept design different stages of design maturity. But everything we do in Deltamarin aims at some point into shipbuilding contract, hence the ship will be also built. And we are maybe slightly different from some other design companies that typically we continue with the approval and detail design and engineering after the shipbuilding contract. So we actually have to also take responsibility of the concept and take it all the way through to the vessel delivery. And that makes us into a quite unique position in the market that we have to stand behind the promises that we make in the concept design. Of course, we do new stuff all the time. We try out new things, but we have to keep the reality in mind. Now, what is reality is changing very rapidly. So if I look back to time before COVID, we do roughly 50 concept designs every year. Not all of them are built, some are. And before COVID, let's say 2019, 90% of the ship concepts were based on conventional fuel, meaning heavy or diesel. There was 10% that was testing or trialing or thinking of something else. And that quite rapidly changed actually, I would say, during the COVID times, and towards 22 it had flipped up to completely opposite. So last time I checked was 23, we had I think 95% of the concepts were based on some kind of alternative fuel. So there's been a massive change in our clients' mindset towards decarbonization and alternative fuels and also technology.
Yeah, and I would say also, of course, that includes a learning curve, which is pretty rapid as well. But I mean, for Deltamarin, I would say that it's always creating new has been always a part of, let's say, each project, if we now generalize. So in that sense, it's nothing new, but it's just everything is happening now much more faster. And when we talk about the alternative fuels, for example, so they are actually touching everything. So it's a big change, of course, in the whole ship, let's say, layout and the space utilization and also the whole energy system. So in that sense, we also as a designer, so already during the early stages of ship design, so we have been now even more rapidly we have to use to get to do analysis on these kind of big changes in the entire vessel, and because it's so important for the main concept to work and how the vessel, and maybe kind of also what is now also a little bit different than before, than all these new regulations regarding environmental performance. So they are actually a function of the actual vessel operation and fuel utilization. I would say before, so the rules have been focusing on maybe certain design points or dimensioning ship, to max or min, condition or something. But now it's actually function of the operational profile. So in that sense, also we have to do a lot more analysis. Still, it's not more time we have. Our customers maybe don't want to pay much more. So in that sense, it has created also a new way to do actually ship concepts, and that's, I think, where we've been succeeding quite well.
And I guess if you could just kind of dive deeper as to, alternative fuels is one piece of the puzzle. The different appendages, the different equipment on board, the hull shape to make it go through the water, obviously more efficiently. But I guess when you look at alternative fuels, what is Deltamarine's position in helping to drive that conversation for the ships that are going to be on the waterways tomorrow?
Okay, so first of all, we are not advocates of any particular fuel or technology, so we always try to look at what fits the client's purposes and needs the best. Again, going back a few years, clients coming to us and they didn't really know if they want methanol, if they want ammonia, biofuel, or what's right. What we can tell is that how that technically influences your ship, its capability to carry payload, dimensions, all that, and maybe eventually the cost of the new build. Starting from that point and moving towards closer this day, I think nowadays our clients have a fairly good idea already of what they want. Let's say that they have pretty clear decision that okay, we want to go LNG or methanol. Then our job is more to make sure that everything is integrated into the vessel as efficiently as possible. And many people might think that fuel is a simple thing. I mean, you need a tank or some kind of containment system, and then you need an engine to burn it. That's it, right? Not quite. So you have a whole lot of regulations, rules related to safety. Alternative fuels, they occupy more space on board, so you need to optimize the arrangement for the fuel. And not only that, when you are burning these alternative fuels, it changes quite totally the heat balance of the vessel, how much waste heat you get from the engine and so forth. So there is actually a lot of different interfaces to the ship design. And those are the things where we have been putting a lot of effort in trying to understand how you optimize the ship with the alternative fuel, and it's not just a drop-in feature into the vessel. And that can make a huge difference in the end.
There's both this, of course, this physical kind of integration level, that how to simply fit these components, the tanks and everything, but then there's also like a functional, let's say, dimension of things, which is a little bit what I'm referring to, that these things, as Esa said, that okay, we have a new engine and new fuel, so for example, we have more waste heat or less waste heat sometimes available. So then it changes how we design the whole heat system, for example, and that has also this functional kind of side to things. So we consume more or less energy somewhere. So how that whole energy balance is switching. So that is kind of one example of the things. So we also analyze that, and that's a part of the very early stage analysis. It cannot be done like you cannot choose the equipment and put them on board and then we see what happens. Or I mean, you can do that, but we don't want to. That's not how we like to do it.
Obviously, there's a lot of new technology being considered. There's a lot of new fuels obviously being considered, and being fuel agnostic. I guess for anyone watching, for a vessel owner watching, what's the best place to start?
From my point of view, it really starts with your trading profile. So where do you trade, where do you operate, what fuels will be or are available there, and what regulations will be affecting those regions. Those are the big critical things that have influence on what is feasible, I mean, in real life, financially, and all that. That typically narrows the options down to less than handful.
Is there any project that you'd like to highlight that kind of ties all this together?
We work with Jokioinen for quite many years already on the Aurora class design. That maybe began somewhere in 2019, 2020, and it's been one of the pioneering projects for us, because that was the time when we first time had a client who really wanted to do something new. So they went full on into this alternative fuel, ammonia, multi-fuel thing, and we have learned a lot in that project.
Yeah, and also I have to say that this client also, it was the time before these kind of carbon intensity indicators, they were introduced in the regulations, but then we already looked with them at what is the level of carbon intensity in the fleet when we introduced these new vessels, new class of vessels. So kind of they wanted to see the big picture. So we looked at it both from the kind of very, let's say, early stage level, and then going all the way. Of course, now there's the technical knowledge of the solution. So I think it was also a visionary thing, and they are kind of an advocate of this decarbonization in practice. So it's very like it's the best thing to work with these kind of projects and customers, because we also want to push these new solutions.
And we have a lot of wonderful car carrier clients, but why I'm mentioning Hög is maybe because they were the first ones within this wave of ordering new builds, and they really didn't only order a series of new vessels, they transformed their whole company in this process to what it is now. And it's been amazing to see how that has gone.
That Ho Autoliners, that's obviously an important reference. We actually just covered it in our recent May edition. But you had referenced said there has been many lessons learned. When you look at that project, can you share some of those lessons learned from the start to today?
Well, I think one of the personal lessons for me has been that if you do proper analysis, proper studies before you begin to design anything, you are much better positioned to make the right decisions instead of just jumping into something and then assuming that you can decide everything on the go. So we have done quite a lot of research on number of things around the project, surrounding the project, related to different fuels, different technologies, carbon intensity of the whole fleet with these new builds and all these things. So I think that has been also helpful for our clients to make these decisions.